This is From Hero to Zero, a show about the misconception of the demise of the music industry. We talk to heroes to make sense of the alleged zero, the music business. Hi Rob, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Very good, good to see you again.
Good to see you again.
So, Rob, you've been with Death Angel for 3+ decades? Yeah.
That's right.
Exactly, 3+ decades, 35 years if I'm correct. Kind of like that.
Most of my life.
Most of your life, great. Where do you see the main difference about being a musician today compared to when you started? The first era of Death Angel, maybe, let's say.
I mean, are you asking from my perspective or from the industry's perspective? Or
from
all
both.
Of it? Yeah?
Generally.
Well, I mean, definitely the game has changed incredibly. I mean, hopefully you can hear me over the killer metal in the background. Well, I think in the very beginning, at least from my point of view and from our band's point of view, there was nothing to do with the business. We didn't even know about that. We weren't even seeing that whatsoever. All we want to do is play music and have a great time and participate in the action and the fun that we were seeing when we were seeing concerts and listening to music, and we just wanted in on that. So we knew we wanted to form a band before we even knew how to play our instruments, and we learned how to play so we could have a band together. And we practically were writing songs before we were even trying to cover songs, because we just wanted to have original music and make our records and do our thing. So we were really driven by the excitement and the love of music, like anybody should be. So that was like us over the our first 3 albums, our first 8 years of our existence. Plus we were really young back then and naive, and we didn't know anything about anything except trying to have fun, which is a beautiful state of mind to be in, right? I mean, but you can never go back. So as time transpired and things got more serious, our band was getting bigger. We got signed to a major record deal with Geffen Records, got major management happening and booking agents, and all this stuff the business part was getting very obvious to us. And then we started to not like it so much because it was taking away that fun and that innocence and the whole idea of what we were playing music for, to be, rebellious and just have this anti-establishment kind of mentality, right? But you're kind of forced to realize the reality of it too. And we're also growing up, it's probably really confusing because at this point we're 20, 21 years old. And for the last, all these years we've just been touring and in the studio and kind of doing our own thing, but also getting manipulated simultaneously by management and record labels and things, and not realizing what was happening. So all of a sudden at once we got a bit disillusioned there and we didn't like it, and we got really sick of the whole business side of things, which started creeping into the music side of things because it's hand in hand. So this is happening, and I guess I'm kind of explaining what was happening to us, not necessarily what was happening to the music industry at that time. Okay. But at the same time, music was even evolving. Out of the 80s into the 90s, the style of music we were playing was evolving and disappearing. And right at that point in time, due to circumstances beyond our control, our band came to an abrupt end because we were on tour. We had this terrible bus accident, and because of that, we are basically screwed. It ended our band right there because there was serious injuries happening. Our drummer, Andy, was injured really badly and stuff, and it was a real shock to us, and so that was the beginning of the end right there. And so at that point, by the time we were regrouping and everything after that was happening, we just didn't want any part of that anymore. Not to mention, Geffen dropped us from the record label because we wouldn't immediately replace our drummer and continue touring right away. which in retrospect I could see their point of view about it. They invested a lot in us in that album, and they wanted us to keep promoting the album, but we just didn't have the heart for that. We were not going to do that. We were not going to replace Andy and move on like that. And we're a tight unit. We're family, and we just said no way. So then we really saw the ugly side of the music industry. We're like, oh, it's like that. Bam. So then there was this period of about 11 years until we reunited, where we just separated and did all these different musical projects with different people, and sometimes some of us together and sometimes not, and exploring just other musical avenues and like getting a lot of other things out of our system. And we were just kind of like had a bad taste in our mouth for metal and thrash at that point. And which was, I guess, fine, because that music didn't really exist anymore at that point. So it was kind of weird. I didn't understand where metal was going. Like I wasn't getting it. There's the different styles that were fusing into it and stuff. So I just like kind of turned my back on it, just started listening to other music and exploring other kind of sounds and stuff, which was great because there's a lot of great music out there. Then, throughout that time, also we were seeing how the music industry was, and personally I just didn't really want any part of it. So I wasn't really trying to really aggressively pursue music at that level as what Death Angel was doing before that. I just wanted to try to recapture the time of enjoying music and playing local shows and jamming with friends, and not really trying to play the game of the music industry, just playing shows. And so we weren't, as a consequence, we were getting nowhere. At the same time, your band wasn't really elevating because you weren't pushing the business side of things. At the same time, I didn't really care that much, sort of, at that point in time. So it was a kind of good space of time to escape that whole thing and rediscover music. Then we reunited again as Death Angel in 2001, I think, or 2001 or 2. And at that point, we were trying to take it with that innocent approach again, where we weren't trying to do anything. We were playing together. We weren't even intending to last very long. We just thought we would just do like a tour or something, like a reuniting tour, and leave it at that. We started writing music little by little, just naturally. Then Nuclear Blast record company came along and started to tell us, let's do it. Let's come alive again and make music. Let's do it. And little by little, we got the idea that we should jump back in. And then so we signed to Nuclear Blast, and there began this era of the band, or at least the next era of the band. I think it's sort of 3 eras, because then we did 2 albums with almost all the original members, 4 out of 5. And then here came the reality again. So as we're touring and back in the grind of doing it, then one band member had a kid, the next one had a kid, I had a kid, second kid happened to another guy, second kid, and pretty soon we weren't able to sustain the reality of raising family at home and trying to tour and at the level that we were at. And so one by one, those guys quit the band, quit, and then we were looking at, should we just pack it up now? Like that's it. But Mark and I sat there and we realized that we didn't want to pack it up. We still loved music, and despite the industry that had evolved and never really embraced us that much, we just always feel we had some kind of a dark cloud in the music business part of things, but somehow we still exist. So we got new members and pushed on, and now in our 3rd era of the band, I think it's our strongest era now, because this band is really, really tight. We just did 3 records in a row together, and we're touring constantly, and we love it. We love what we're doing, and again, despite the music industry situation, we're still here for some reason. It seems as back in the day, you used to do a record and tour to promote the record, and now you do a record so that you can tour. It's like the record supports the tour instead of the tour supporting the record. And you have to, you know, really rely on your merch sales, and you just gotta love what you're doing, because it's a grind every single day. It's just, you know, it's a job, and it's very life consuming, and you sacrifice half your life or more for this thing, and everyone around you sacrifices with you. But what else are we gonna do? We've surrendered to it, so we're here and we're you know what I mean. So at this point, it's just we'll see how far we can go.
So, it's a great story. Death Angel is a great story. Just as you now told it, over basically 35 years or something like that, and you're still here. And it seems as if it works better and better. For instance, the last 3 albums was with the same band, the same label, the same studio. You recorded it in the same studio.
Yeah.
What do you think is the secret sauce that keeps it all together nowadays?
Just the love of music, the absolute love of music, and realizing that we love to do it more than anything else. And so you can do it or you cannot do it. And another thing about it, I guess, is realizing this and even talking about it with each other, and making sure that we take care of it and take care of the relationship and take care of every move that we make, respecting each other. You know, you have to be aware of it, otherwise it can be gone like that, as we know. And I think just experience, you know, you just have to learn by your experiences, and that's really about it. There's no other real secret sauce about it. I mean, the other part is just the normal thing that you have to just work your ass off. You gotta just work your fucking ass off, practice constantly go at it, and really devote your entire life to the thing. So when you accept that, then I think you're on the right path. And then other than that, you have to, you know, hopefully the gods of music keep giving us some kind of love that we can come up with something right and create and perform something that's worthy of fans to enjoy and support it. I mean, if you do all of this and your music comes out like shit, then I mean, I don't know what, then you're fucked. Sure. You know what I mean? So, I mean, we just try our hardest and try our best and try to be just true to ourselves and search deep down inside. And at this point, we're driven and inspired, I'd say, I mean, at least for myself, more so by experience, the things we go through on a daily basis, and your inner, like your life situations and the emotions that you experience, like the roller coaster of emotions you experience being in this kind of life. You know, at some points it's the highest of highs when you're having great shows, or you know, you finish the album and you're just really proud of what you did and stuff like that. And then at other times you're in a lowest of lows where you're just not having an easy time that day. You haven't been home for a long time. Things are difficult back at home and you're not there to help. You know, these days people are passing away, you know, people are dying while you're on tour. Someone close, your family member dies, and the whole thing, this funeral happens, the service, it's all over, and you're still on tour. And by the time you come home, it's like the whole thing happened and you weren't even around. It's painful because you weren't around. But you know, at some points you have to miss a lot of important things, important dates, birthdays, anniversaries, half your life of your child growing up, you know, and you can never get those things back. So somehow we tap into that pain, I guess, and use that to output what we do in music. It's a really bizarre, vicious circle that happens. But I guess that's what it is.
Exactly, and fans get to hear it and appreciate it, and I assume they show you that appreciation as well.
They do. Our fans are incredible. They're very, very passionate, I guess they feel our passion, and it's an exchange of energy, of a passionate energy, which is one of the amazing things about it. And a lot of the music that I love and listen to is, it's like I can tell it's driven by a dark feeling. Like it's kind of like, to me it's like the expression of what's happening in the blues. How like the feeling that's put into the blues, because you're just venting out, like you're letting out your feelings into music. And a lot of the times, I guess in this music too, it's not really a happy kind of thing. I mean, some parts are I mean, it's got a positives. It's not meant to be a depressing kind of thing. It's always like with a hopeful like message or a positive outcome, but yet the intense parts are driven by pain and anger. I mean, that's where it comes from.
Exactly. You just mentioned relationships in the band, with the business, with the record company maybe, but there's also a very strong relationship with your fans. How is it different today, where technology is much more advanced than, let's say, let's put it back in the first era of Death Angel? How is it different? Do you communicate with fans differently, and why?
Oh, well, yes, absolutely. There's one thing that was not brought up in the stuff we were talking about earlier, which is, of course, the internet. Okay, so this like changes everything. And we've been around so long that we were existing before the internet existed, or even cell phones. We were touring like that before. It seemed completely primitive. Like people that go on tour now, who's never experienced that, would be fucking lost attempting to do that. Like, because you just show up, you walk around, you don't even know where there's nothing. You're cut off. You used to write postcards home and stuff like that, which was actually kind of, it was fun because it's a different trip. Like, it was like more challenging and like much more mysterious about everything, and I could say the same stories as everybody else does, where you wait in line to buy your new record when record's coming out. You're like reading the liner notes, the lyrics, looking at the artwork. I mean, all of us dinosaurs know that part and how fun that was. You can't turn the time back now. So now there's the internet. Everything's available. It's just massively everything. You just go online and like that, you have everything. All music, all info, whatever. But on the good side, that is a good way to connect with fans. And so, yes, definitely we have a strong presence in social media. Ted, our other guitar player, who you were just talking to earlier, he's our master of that. So he loves social media, and he's really, really good at it. So he runs all our social media, all the different avenues of it. And we try to, connect with our fans there. We have a fan club called The Pack, and it has a special website like that you log in, and in there we put all this different like behind the scenes footage and stuff, so our fans can connect with us on there and communicate with them directly and stuff like that. So it's like absolutely something that did not exist some years ago, where you can really be that close inside with a band, if the band wants to do that kind of thing, I guess, which we do, because why not? If the thing's available, and fans, if I was a fan, I would love that kind of thing. So, we just try to look at it as point of view of a fan, because we are also fans of music. And so, yes, we utilize as much of that as possible and try to keep on top of it. I mean, Ted keeps on top of it, and then he educates the rest of us. And yeah, I mean, I think it's actually an amazing tool when used as a tool, not as to take over or absolutely replace something or take the heart and soul out of something. So of course we're using all digital and advanced technology in writing and recording and everything. I mean, just as out of convenience, you can share files. Like if I can come up with ideas, make a recording in my home studio and email it to the other guys so they can start listening to it and working on it at home. So by the time we come into our rehearsal studio to jam, everyone's already ahead of the game that way. And so to save time and be convenient, but not to replace. you know, we always go to our studio and as a band jam for that live feel and to see how everything's going. We don't just, you know, piece it together and live like in other parts of the world and then just kind of, I know a lot of bands do that these days, and to each his own. I mean, that's obviously making it possible for bands to exist in other countries, but I like the fact that our whole band lives in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we get together in our studio and jam live together all the time, so we can get that soulful communication and the human experience and the feel into our music. That's what give it that, you know, rock and roll, punkish vibe that is part of the ingredients of thrash to me. At least for our style of music. It needs to have more of an organic thing going on, because we're not like virtuoso type. We consider ourselves a rock and roll band that's just, you know, really heavy.
Which I like completely. Rob, it was very, very interesting. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you for having me.
All the best with the tour. And by the way, are you working on new material?
Little by little. I got a little bit going on, but for right now, we're focusing on the touring, and we're still planning on touring throughout next year. So I think when we get home from this tour, we'll have a little bit of a break. Then we'll start to really focus into writing. So for now, there's just concepts, ideas, notes taken, riffs are recorded here and there, but not what I would consider really delving into it and getting serious about writing yet. I'm not gonna lie and say, oh yeah, we got 20 songs written. You know, we go in waves. All of a sudden we're not writing, and all of a sudden, like, music will just hopefully pour out.
Sure. Well, again, all the best. Thank you so much. It was very
Thank you.
interesting.
Thanks for
Rob.
having me.
Bye.